S.yria cries out for American clarity, not chaos. So if it's Wednesday, an American attack on Syria is imminent. President Trump told us on Twitter in the morning, Russia vows to shoot down any and all missiles fired at Syria. Get ready, Russia, because they will be coming, nice and new and smart. If it's Thursday, not so much, or at least not so soon. Never said when an attack on Syria would take place. Could be very soon or not so soon at all, said the presidential tweet. Only a week before the on-again, off-again missile strikes, the president wanted to withdraw U.S. troops before the job of eradicating the Islamic State terrorist organization was done. And that was long after he criticized President Obama for telegraphing his moves in foreign policy. If there's one thing U.S. foreign policy needs to succeed, it is consistent vision and implementation that unites our allies and builds support from the American public. Vacillating policy pronouncements only embolden our adversaries. Even as they contemplate likely U.S. and allied strikes on Syria, Bashar Assad and his Iranian and Russia supporters have to be feeling smug about the chaos in Washington and the international disarray and confronting them in the aftermath of a barbarous chemical attack Assad launched on his own people, leaving nearly 50 dead and 500 injured. The bombing left men, women and children foaming at the mouth and suffocating on what was first thought to be chlorine but could be something far more deadly, perhaps the nerve agent sarin or a combination of both. If confirmed, the attack would be the 8th use of chemical weapons Assad has authorized since Trump took office. After a sarin gas bombing last April that killed 85 civilians, the president ordered a Tomahawk missile strike against a Syrian air base. It was a measured and appropriate response Trump hoped would quell Assad's bloodlust. In the meantime, the U.S.-led military campaign against ISIS in eastern Syria was proving to be a major success. With a limited deployment of 2,000 troops, coalition air power and a 60,000-member ground force of Syrian Kurds and Arabs, the caliphate was all but vanquished, with more than 90% of its territory liberated. And there were valuable benefits of the campaign, establishing the U.S. military as a counterweight to Russian and Iranian influence, and allowing stabilization of war-torn areas so that ISIS wouldn't re-emerge. A broader Syria policy seemed to be taking shape. And then Trump said he wanted to pull the plug. He tacked toward isolationism in late March and early this month, promising to withdraw from eastern Syria in 6 months and let the other people take care of it now. It's very possible, as Senator John McCain and former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright have argued, that Trump's remarks, as well as his recent firing of a Secretary of State who advocated a more muscular U.S.-Syrian policy, encouraged Assad to carry out his chemical attack on Saturday. To recover from weeks of bungling, Trump will have to end the mixed messages and lay out a focused plan for Syria. The United States should recommit to its limited deployment of troops in eastern Syria. There is still ISIS territory to liberate and ample rebuilding to be done, funded by regional allies but safeguarded with U.S.-led security. American diplomacy must undertake the delicate task of curbing NATO member Turkey's aggression against Syrian Kurdish U.S. allies. And Washington must grow its coalition of partners to isolate Moscow's sponsorship of Assad. The United States should also rejoin Geneva-based diplomatic efforts to shape Syria's future. And if America launches attacks on Syria to bolster respect for the international norms against using chemical weapons, they must be broader and more sustained to deliver an unmistakable message to Assad that further use of weapons of mass destruction risks such devastating retaliation. It would undermine his regime's stability. There remains the crucial task of encouraging allies to participate in any strikes while keeping the Russian forces on the ground in Syria from interfering and out of harm's way. Any action must be carefully calibrated to avoid conflict between superpowers. Syria cries out for American clarity and firmness, exactly the opposite of what it has received in recent weeks. Half the population is displaced, dead or part of a diaspora flooding Europe. ISIS remnants linger. Whipsawing between isolationist rhetoric and overt military action bewilders American friends and buoys its foes. It's time Trump set a straight course. If you can't see this reader poll, please refresh your page.